All right. So just to cover a couple of things, next Thursday's class, which will be, let me just make sure I give the right date, which will be the 1st of May. The classes will be pre-recorded and you'll be able to watch them on the Monkotronic YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Monkotronic will get you to the class list. And both classes next Thursday will be pre-recorded because I'll be driving from here to Santa Barbara that day. All right. So we're continuing on in I Am That by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. And in our last few minutes last week, we were talking about the Gyani and death. And, does he have prayers for the dead and whatnot? And his last question was, how does the Gyani fare in death or after death? And Maharaj makes the point. He says, if he's a Gyani, he's dead already, right? The ego has died. There is no personality individual there, no ego formed individual there. And this is interestingly enough, I'm very happy to find this idea in some of the ancient scriptures, because this is a very big part of modern Christianity, is this idea of dying to the self, that you die before you die. So that in the words of Paul that I've mentioned before, that it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me, right? Which is a statement that I've become that same whole that Ramakrishna is. So by looking at me, you're looking at the divine, because the ego personality self has been extinguished. And there is no particular identity or a sliver of one to keep me in the body, not me, but obviously, but a slight sliver of ego identity to keep me attached to the body so I can use it to teach, like Ramakrishna, would ask for a rasgolo or a glass of water, or just enjoyed the company of loving the devotees. And so to know this is that realization. And it's interesting, when I took my sannyas vows, my final vows as a monk, I had to go through that shraddha ceremony and do my own funeral. And then and then of course I had to do my funeral for all my friends and all my acquaintances and all my relatives and for you guys, so you all are dead to me. But yes, it's getting rid of that idea of body mind and of having a self-actuated life, so that you stay fluid in the moment, free from narrative, and working only through a spontaneous inspiration of Satchitananda. There is no more calculation going on within the mind as to what should be done and what the best way to do it is. I'm chuckling because I'm just thinking that's the way the order is run. And so sometimes to find your posting, you have to go around the world for a 15-minute meeting. All right, before they come and grab me out of the chair, let's continue here with his question for today. He goes on saying, surely the dissolution of the body is an important event to a Gyani. Maharaj. I love his answers. I just love them. He says, there are no important events for a Gyani, right? You have to have a self, a relative sense of self to compare everything to come up with favorites, things that you like and things that you dislike, things you're attracted to and things that you're repelled by. That's all due to an ego structure inside, choosing a particular point of perspective from which to judge things. And so he's saying there are no important events for a Gyani. A Gyani realizes that everything is God, that everything is a thought, that there is nothing weighted here. Everything is as it is, and it is perfect as such. And that it is only my work to see that perfection, to find that place from which this moment is perfect. And that is what spiritual life is. That's what our practice is. Finding that spiritual perspective from within, from which the moment is always perfect. And that means basically what we've always been talking about, this path of neti neti for the Gyani. I'm not the body and I'm not the mind, because the moment is almost never perfect for a body, right? We've said this in the past. The moment is almost never perfect for the body. We're moving into the only season of the year where I think the weather is perfect for the body. But and the moment is very rarely perfect for the mind, right? There's always something that needs to be changed. Like as soon as I say that, I realize my lower back is hurting just a little bit. And so I have to make an adjustment. You see, I moved into some karma. I now have to fix my pillow, which I had to buy for that very reason. So you see, this is how karma works. This is how we are moved by circumstance and condition and not the doers ourselves, right? So to tie it all in there together, we can see how all of that works. So there are no important events for a Jnani, except when somebody reaches the highest goal. Then only his heart rejoices, right? When the ignorance, the bondage has fallen away, and he sees the divine as himself for the first time. Then there's the deepest of attachments, the self for the self, love for its own sake, love for love's sake. That comes to the place, and just just the idea of that divine, the presence of that divine love in its fullness, and all of the veil is gone, so you're seeing it in its pure form, nothing missing there, no ignorance, no delusion going on. Then only his heart rejoices, right? He sings, just he goes crazy, literally. The body shuts down, the mind shuts down. He's just, tears are coming from the eyes. He's just, in that, even above the state of Om, just rejoicing, just singing the divine song. Except when somebody reaches the highest goal, then only his heart rejoices. All else, everything else, is of no concern, right? The realization that everything has only been a thought in a mind of a dream of the divine that we have played our part in, and that nothing happened, nothing was done or undone, nothing was needed, nothing was necessary. All that was there was a pure love dancing in all of its forms, and we just simply had to learn how to see it. And the way that we did that was by finding out who we were in the midst of it. The entire universe is his body. All life is his life. Okay, so see what I'm saying, what's being said there. The entire universe is his body. So when Ramakrishna realized God for the first time, that body that we still called Ramakrishna and are still calling Ramakrishna was in fact no longer Ramakrishna. His identity as a self was with everything, with everybody. That's why he was able to love everyone and to see the good in everyone and to become a name from a very ordinary existence, not an ordinary life, but an ordinary existence. It's always a thrill to me to think about Ramakrishna in that sense, because he did really nothing. He worked at a little temple in a little tiny village outside of Kolkata. It wasn't even a Brahmin temple, so it had to fight for its legitimacy. He never gave big public lectures. He never wrote anything. He never advertised anything. And yet here, not even 150 years later, we're celebrating his name on the other side of the planet. This is the power of touching that ideal, of reaching this ideal. And so this Ramakrishna, the body that you're looking at, is merely a symbol of the divine. That's what the incarnation is. It's just merely a pointer, something for you to look at while you think of the beloved. Because Ramakrishna as himself is no longer just that body. He's no more that body than he's your body at this point. He is fully present in every thought of yours, every action of yours, fully aware of all things going on in there. And that self that he is within you, that's aware of all of that, is the self you will realize yourself to be at some point. If there's such a thing as a point. All right. So all else is of no concern. The entire universe is his body. All life is his life. As in a city of lights, when one bulb burns out, it does not affect the network. So the death of a body does not affect the whole. All right. The electricity that ran that burned out bulb is still circulating and carrying on. Nothing has been diminished. Just one light bulb goes out. So a body drops, but the universe continues. I remember I had this experience. I was a Shanti volunteer during the AIDS crisis in San Francisco, and I was 27 years old, and I was working or volunteering for a young man who was also 27 years old but was dying of AIDS. And because we were the same age, there was quite a rapport between us, and it was quite profound for me to be spending time with this guy who was my age, who was dying, and dealing with it and having those conversations with him. And the day that he died, I remember I went to his house to help him that morning. We had a 10 a.m. appointment. And when I got there, I've told this story, but when I got there was an older man in his yard carrying stuff out of his house into the back of a rental truck, Ryder rental truck. And so I got to the gate, and the guy says, "Good morning." He's, "Can I help you?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm here to see Randy." And he said, "Oh, well, Randy passed away last night." And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm a Shanti volunteer." And he said, "Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Randy's father." And oh my God, at that point was my heart just crumpled. Just thinking of a father having to empty out the contents of his 27-year-old son house already. Anyway, I wandered up behind in the middle of San Francisco is several big hills, and I hiked to the top of one and sat there where I could see the whole city, and I could look down at the intersection just where Randy's house was. I've changed his name for whatever reason, but down at Randy's house. And I sat there and saw that life was just going on like any other time that I had sat at the top of that hill. The traffic was bustling. The people were going in and out of the subway stations. The ferries were going back and forth across the bay. And I remember just writing a poem and just saying to him, the world has already forgotten you. The first day has not even passed, and the world has left you behind. And I remember that statement where Ramakrishna says, "You can clear the scum away for a moment and see the water, but as soon as you remove your hand, the scum closes the gap all over again." And this is life. And this is what the Gyani knows. He's everything. He's not one of everything. He is everything. And the body is of no significance in the sense that its importance is only within the dream within which it holds a place marker that you identify with. That's its only function, really. So he says, as in a city of lights, when one bulb burns out, it does not affect the network. So the death of a body does not affect the whole. And our questioner says, well, the particular may not matter to the whole, but it does matter to the particular. Good point. The whole is an abstraction. The particular, the concrete, is real. Maharaj says, well, that is what you say. To me, it may be the other way. The whole is real, and the part comes and goes. The particular is born and reborn, changing name and shape. The Gyani is changeless reality, which makes the changeful possible. But he cannot give you the conviction. It must come with your own experience. With me, all is one. All is equal. Right? So he's saying, no, you've got it the other way around. And that's what Maya is. Maya is when reality is literally inverted. It's where the things that seem good, seem to be pleasant, and the things that aren't pleasant seem to be evil. And it's just flipped completely on its ear. And so he's saying that it's the whole that is the unchanging, which allows for the particular, the changing, right? It's that you have the whole movie reel in your hand in front of you. That whole movie reel with no change in it is necessary to allow the movie to play, for the changing to happen. So behind the changing, there has to be an unchanging absolute. Otherwise, a relative world would be meaningless. It would collapse in on itself. Nothing has any meaning except when it's placed in relativity to something else. You don't know what big is until you've seen something smaller, and vice versa. So this is the nature of the universe. So he's saying the particular is born and reborn, changing name and shape. The Jnani is the changeless reality. Right? So the Jnani sees himself as changeless. And I was sharing this the other day a little bit in a vlog, where I saw that as you are kind of the projector. You and this body mind are kind of like a projector. What you project is the light of awareness. And what comes back to you is the film shot from the reel of time, which is passing through you, the projector. So time is passing through you and playing these images from the light of awareness on the screen of your mind. But you are just the observer of the screen of the mind. Time passes through you. You are not in time. Time is in you. You are not in the movie. The movie is in you. You are watching all of this. You are the light of awareness standing unchanged, and time is passing through you, and in that light of awareness, projecting its contents onto mind, right? Prisming it through your mind, and you creating a story, giving everything that's being projected a meaning and a value, and applying its relative nature to everything else that you have in mind. And thus is your sense of self, separate and apart, small and weak from the whole. All right, so the Jnani is that unchanging absolute. He says, with me, all is one. I see oneness. I know oneness. I don't just see it. I am that oneness. All is equal, right? Everything is merely a thought projected on mind by the light of awareness. It is what it is. It's a symbol of love, a symbol of perfection, a pointer at an unchanging reality that I'm as of yet unaware of, right? But is the source of my awareness. So then the question there says, he says, well, everything's one. Okay, well, are virtue and sin the same? And Maharaj says, these are all man-made values. You see, they're all just thoughts. They don't have a value, positive or negative, until they meet you. And it's us that gives things value, that says that's better than that, and that's right and that's wrong, right? These are all man-made values. What are they to me? They all come and go. They all change. And then this body drops, and what relevance does any of it have? When your point of reference, which is your body, if you look at the selfishness of what ego does to us, it's quite shocking, because there is nothing in your world that is not directly related to you. Right? That is the trap of selfishness. That's the trap of egoism. We measure the stars from how far away they are from me, right? I talk about everybody else in the world in relationship to me. I talk about time and history in relationship to me, right? You see how drunk on this individual we are. It's unreal. Literally, our entire universe is created out of selfishness. Every single thing in our personal universe is measured from me, right? And where I am and who I am and what my story says. And so he has completely lost that, not lost it, just dropped it, just let it go. He's like, ooh, who wants to be that egotistical where their entire self-universe measures from them? But there's really nothing that we can do about that as long as we believe ourselves to be the body mind, because the body, everything that comes through the senses comes through its senses. So everything is going to be measured from that point, from that perspective, which is why we have to not identify with body. And the mind is what's at the middle of it, processing it all and creating this web of Lily Tomlin plugs and switches, trying to create a relative world. What is this thing that we're experiencing? So he says all of these are man-made values, sin and virtue and all of that. What are they to me? What ends in happiness is virtue, and what ends in sorrow is sin, right? So the long-term things. Now, don't get confused here, because there's a lot of things that are pleasant while they're going on that seem like they're going to end in happiness. But when they actually end, where are you left? You're left in loneliness. You're left in wherever you're left, you know. So when you make this judgment, he's not saying that everything is pleasant is virtue. He's saying everything that ends in happiness is virtue. Something that you've done, finished, and completed, and are still happy that you did it, and still feel better about yourself as a person because you've done it. That is virtue. Those things which you leave a bad taste in your mouth, or a little bit of like, my God, did I do that? You know, or did I do that again? Those things are vice, right? But he says both are states of mind, right? Both are states of mind. And now he's going to say mine is not a state of mind, because I exist before mind. I observe mind, right? And so I am not affected by the states of mind or the states of body. My contentment, my sense of self, is in the universal, which is outside of all of this, looking in, as it were. The questioner says, well, we're like the blind people, at a loss to understand. And what does it mean to see? Maharaj, well, you can put it as you like, right? Because you see, the problem that we're running into, even with our questioner here, is that we're all trying to understand Advaita. You cannot and will never understand Advaita, because it's transcendent. It does not obey time. It does not obey causation. It does not find its point in space. The mind needs those three things. It needs relativity. And we are talking about the one thing that is absolutely non-relative. It is the original, unchanging absolute. And so our seer is seeing that, or our questioner is seeing that. He's saying we're like blind people who are trying to understand what it means to see. And he says, yeah, you can put it as you like, but see, that's the problem. Everything that I say, you put it in your mind and unpack it and make it a relative diagram of a reality that can't be diagrammed. And so that's why he doesn't really take it seriously. He says, yeah, you can put it as you like, but just understand this, it's not going to happen here. Realization doesn't happen there. Realization happens before there. Right. So you can put it as you like. Well, the questioner says, well, is the practice of silence as a sadhana effective? Sounds like he just put his hand in his pocket and pulled out whatever note was in there. Well, is the practice of silence as a sadhana effective? And Maharaj, anything, this is a great answer, anything you do for the sake of enlightenment takes you nearer. Wow. Wow. Anything that you do for the sake of enlightenment takes you nearer. There's your easiest instruction for spiritual practice that you can come up with. Anything that you do with the idea of drawing nearer to the truth, drawing nearer to the self, eliminating your delusions, is going to take you nearer. It is vidya, right? It takes you toward the light. Anything you do without remembering enlightenment puts you off. Right? Is it starting to understand why Holy Mother tells you to chant in the name of God always? Right? Because you've got this tug of war going on. Anything that you do in your day with consciousness about your enlightenment moves you toward that enlightenment. Anything that you do absent-mindedly, without the thought or the remembrance of your nature or of your being, of Satchitananda, anything that you do that's in ignorance of that or without the awareness of that pulls you in the opposite direction. So this is why it's important to understand that your hour of practice in the morning is not your practice. That's your preparation for your practice. Your practice is the rest of your life. all the rest of the day. That's your practice, your hour in the morning and in the evening, or whatever time you've decided to set for yourself. That is not your practice. That is your preparation for practice. Your practice is your life. Right. So everything that you do with your mind thinking about God, if you're a bhakta, or your mind thinking about the reality, about the enlightenment, discerning mind, you know, creating dispassion and renunciation, that is moving you toward enlightenment. Everything that you do in absent-mindedness is drifting you away. But why complicate? Just know that you are above and beyond all things and all thoughts. What you want to be, you are it already. Just keep it in mind. Right. So this is these are the scissors, right? There's two ways to get through a knot in a rope. Spend the time trying to untie that thing, or take a sword to it, chop. So the untying the knot is doing neti neti. I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, sitting every morning for your practice, chanting the names and glories of God, carrying on with all this. He says that is one way to do it. Right. But same as Ramakrishna, he says, when Ramakrishna says, really, all that's necessary is one grand renunciation. Just one grand renunciation. I am none of this, and I'm done with it. And no longer having an interest in any particularity in it. You accept everything that comes. And if you just hold yourself to that, that's all there is. So he says, why complicate it with this, even this simple definition of that everything that you do for the sake of your enlightenment moves you closer to enlightenment. Everything you do in absent-mindedness moves you away from your enlightenment. He says, but even that's too complicated. He says, just know that you are above and beyond all things. So everything you can hear, taste, touch, and smell, hear, taste, touch, smell, and see. Yeah, 5 of them. All of those things you are not you. You are above them. And all thought they are not yours. These things passing through time, passing with time through your light of awareness, have nothing to do with you. They're just passing through there. They belong to that body and that mind, but that body and mind does not belong to you. It's a dream body, dream mind. It's made of God. So it's just a thing among things, no concern to you. Right? What you want to be, you already are. Right? And you say, well, what is it that I want to be? Right? I want to be a train engineer, but I'm not a train engineer. Right? So you can't think that way. He's talking much bigger than that, obviously, right? Everything that you are, how do you find out what it is that you think you are, or what that you want to be? What is that? Write your obituary. That's how you do it. What do you want people to think of you and say of you when you're dead, when your body mind drops? That's your ideal. You know, she was caring, she was loving, she would drop everything of her own for you in a moment to be there with you. You know, we all want people to basically think of us as God. We want to be thought of what we really are when we die. That marvelously unselfish, kind-hearted, loving, well-rested, caring being. Right? That's all we ever really wanted in life. That's what we really wanted. And so instead of looking at the body mind and defining yourself differently, looking at the body mind and defining yourself as unhappy or depressed or alone or sad, go inside and find the company of your own self, this light of love within, and drink deeply of it. Be filled up by it. And then turn around and look at the outside world from a new perspective as an opportunity to flow into everything that you do with light and love. Right? Just keep this in mind all the time. I'm above my thoughts. I'm above my senses. I'm free and pure. I am loving. And that's when you read that verse, remember, 1 Corinthians 13, 1-8, have you forgotten it yet? You know, that's when you read that verse and say, I am loving, I am kind, I'm compassionate. You know, I don't delight in evil. I delight only in good. You know, I always hope, I always believe, I always trust, I never fail, right? This is who and what you are in your divine nature. Keep it in mind. And the questioner says, well, I hear you saying it, but I just can't believe it. And that is the trick, right? What's he saying here? I hear you saying it, but I cannot believe it, right? It's your karma refusing to let go of itself. This is why we need grace, because who could believe it? That I am as loving as Jesus, that I'm as kind as Buddha. Who could believe that, right? And that is why grace enters the picture. Even as a Gyani, grace enters the picture. You know, if you search this book for the word grace, you're going to find it. If you search this book for the word God, you're going to find it. Because Gyani is not the absence of God. You know, being a Gyani, being a knower, is the absence of ego, right? So this is the trouble. We've been hearing this for how many years now? I've been in this monastery for 26 years. Do you think there's been a single day that I've been in this monastery where somewhere in that day I didn't hear thou art that? You know? And so here I sit, you know, still trying to figure out, what does that little sentence mean? I am that, right? It's simply because we will not let ourselves believe it. We're afraid of it, frankly. We're afraid of it. Maharaj, he says, I was in the same position myself, but I trusted my guru and he proved right. Trust me if you can. Keep in mind that what I tell you, desire nothing, for you lack nothing. The very seeking prevents you from finding. Right? So that there, keep in mind what I tell you, desire nothing. So when a desire arises in your mind, this is all part of discernment. It's a marvelous freedom tool. Sounds kind of dorky. Let me give you a marvelous freedom tool. And this is that whenever you feel a desire, instead of being concerned about the desire, ask your question, where did that desire come from? How did that enter into my mind? Because it wasn't always there. That desire has a source, and track it back, and it'll be something foolish. It'll be a smell that you had, or part of a song that you heard, you know, or a breeze on your cheek. Some trivial little thing like that will have connected to a memory and played that memory and given birth to a desire. And then the thought about that desire brought up more memories, right? And gets you stuck in a state of mind that you can't control. And this is where we get caught. So he says, I was in that same position myself. What's the antidote? I trusted my guru. Right? I trusted the scripture. I trusted my teacher. Trust me, he says, if you can. Keep in mind what I tell you. Desire nothing, because you lack nothing. The very seeking prevents you from finding. Right? So when you sit there and think, I have to seek, say, hey, well, what put that in my mind? What do I have to seek for? What am I looking for? I'm just trying to be my very self. And I can do that best in silence when nothing is telling me what to do. So that's what he's saying. Don't step into the seeking. Sit there and contemplate the notion of seeking and look deep inside to what it is you're looking for. And maybe it's something you just forgot and not something that you actually don't have. So desire nothing, for you lack nothing. And the very seeking prevents you from finding. The questioner, you seem to be so very indifferent to everything. Maharaj, I am not indifferent. I am impartial. Very different, very different, right? I am not indifferent. That would mean I didn't care or don't care. He says, it's not that. I'm impartial. I care equally for everyone and everything. I don't prefer one over the other. I desperately love everyone. not any one person. Right? I am not indifferent, I am impartial. I give no preference to the me and the mine. A basket of earth and a basket of jewels are both unwanted. Life and death are all the same to me. The questionnaire, I mean, that's quite something. I mean, I like to just read over that and keep going, but can we? We should really honor this amazing statement. I am not indifferent, I am impartial. I give no preference to me or mine. You see, that is our only trouble. That me and mine, and the fact that we give preference to it, that's selfishness when we give preference to me and mine. That's the only problem we have. We can go and make a list of the 10 million ways that that manifests and make it look like we've got a billion things to do, but we don't. We've got one thing to take care of: the elimination of this me and mine and giving preference to it. That's our only task. Me and mine is the only impurity, right? Me and mine. So a basket of earth and a basket of jewels are both unwanted. I like how he said they're not both the same to me. He says they're both unwanted. Right? They're not necessary. I'm not going to pick either one of them up. I'm not going to have even a preference. Life and death are the same to me. Just fearlessness. Because life and death, as he's talking about, this particular experience of existence from a point of reference, this body mind, he says they're all the same to me, really, because they are all the same. If we could step inside each other's mind, we would find that while things may not be the same in particular, they're the same in general. We've all got parents and families that we feel ways about. We've all got our jobs that we feel ways about. We're all trying to pay bills. We're all trying to find and maintain love in our life, right? The story's not so different, just the particulars. And even those aren't that different. But ego convinces us that we are so intensely unique. But you look at us, we're not all that unique. We're all put together pretty much the same way. So the questioner says, well, your impartiality makes you indifferent. And Maharaj says, on the contrary, it's completely opposite to that. Compassion and love are my very core. They're what I am. Void of all predilections, I am free to love. Right? I will always give you a new chance every time I see you. I will always love you by default. Always. I won't ever hold a grudge. I won't ever hold your history against you. I won't hold your actions against you. We see this again and again in these beautiful incarnations that come, and they touch some of the most impure people and invite some of the most unrighteous people into their circles. And they create saints out of them, right? Just to show us this. You're not identified by what you've done. You're identified by what you are. And that is always fresh and always new. And every moment is a new chance. And as soon as you give yourself permission not to drag your past into it, as soon as you give yourself permission not to drag all of your old ideas about the moment into it, as soon as you give yourself that permission, you're going to be free. Right? And so think about that from moment to moment. Give yourself permission to let go and to be with God purely and absolutely now. You don't have to do anything more. Don't have to try anything more. Simply be. This moment is all you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about all the ones that you're going to count till you die, because you're never going to leave this one. And so in this moment, love God. In this moment, see the good in everyone. In this moment, have no preference. In this moment, be content. Right? That's all. Just this moment, just right now. And that's all you have to worry about. So on the contrary, compassion and love are my very core. Void of all predilections, that's all preferences or aversions, I am free to love. I'm free to love. The questioner responds, Buddha said that the idea of enlightenment is extremely important. Most people go through their lives not even knowing that there is such a thing as enlightenment, leave alone the striving for it. Once they heard of it, a seed is sown which cannot die. Therefore, he would send his bhikkhus to preach ceaselessly for 8 months every year. Maharaj, one can give food, one can give clothes, one can give shelter, knowledge, affection, but the highest gift is the gospel of enlightenment. My guru used to say, you are right, enlightenment is the highest good. Once you have it, nobody can take it away from you. Right? So indeed, talking about these things, even the Gita says, he who says these things, the Gyani says, he who teaches these things, blessed indeed, right? This is what we talk about, because this is the most beautiful thing possible, that freshness of the moment. What a beautiful corollary of that truth, that I am, right? Just this infinite love. What a wonderful corollary to that fact that I am. Right? All these beautiful things, everything that makes life beautiful. Death is the boundary that makes everything beautiful. We can see that because things that are just steadily beautiful, we stop seeing them as beautiful. They become ordinary parts of the day. We just no longer notice them. And so death is very important. Death is a form of keeping you awake. It gives you the perfect measure for understanding this world. It ain't going to last. Don't trouble over it too much, right? You are not as you seem to be. Questioner, well, if you talk like this in the West, people are going to take you for being mad. I don't think that's so true, actually. But anyway, that's his idea. So the Maharaj says, well, of course they would, right? Of course, even Ramakrishna, in the very heart of India itself, was considered mad for his life. Of course they would. To the ignorant, all that they cannot understand is madness. What of it? Let them be as they are, right? Don't worry about it. Chill out. That's not your concern. I am as I am, for no merit of mine, and they are as they are, for no fault of theirs. You see, he's eliminating future and past. He's seeing only present. He's seeing they are as they are. There's no explanation for it. It's simply isness. And I am as I am. There's no explanation for it. It's simply isness. Don't trouble yourself with stories. If you start that tangle, there's no end to it. Your mind creates story about the moment in real time always. And that is the story of your Maya, your delusion. I am as I am for no merit of mine, and they are as they are for no fault of theirs. The supreme reality manifests itself in innumerable ways. So even as you are in this moment, you are only a manifestation of the supreme reality. So it's not that you have to change what's manifesting, just know what's manifesting. That's all. You don't have to change what's manifesting in your life, just know what's manifesting, and the whole world will change, just with that slight adjustment. So what of it? Let them be as they are. The supreme reality manifests itself in innumerable ways. Infinite in number are the names and shapes. All arise and all merge in the same ocean. The same source of all is one. Looking for causes, looking for results is but the pastime of the mind. What is lovable. Love is not a result. It is the very ground of being. Wherever you go, you will find being, consciousness, and love. Why and what for make preferences, right? That's this This is so important. Look at these things that are here, right? All right. To the ignorant, all that they cannot understand is madness. What of it? All right. So the condition of this world, yeah. What of it? Let it go. It's not, you're not a bother. What of it? Let it all be as it is. Let the moment remain exactly as it is. You don't have to change anything. I am as I am, and of no merit of my own, right? So there's no story that makes me this way. This is the way that this supreme divine is manifesting right now through this. That's all. For no merit of mine, no story. And they are as they are for no fault of theirs. So everyone is exactly as everyone needs to be. Everyone is exactly a manifestation of that supreme being behind them, right? The supreme reality is manifesting itself in innumerable ways. Everything that your senses are picking up at this moment are ways of the manifestation of the supreme reality. Infinite in number are its names and its shapes. It is everything that you are experiencing. All arise and all merge in the same ocean. The best you and the worst you arises from the same ocean, right? And that's true for every person. Their best self and their worst self arises from the same ocean, right? You see, to know this, this is the poison of the cobra that you've been bitten by. To hear this truth once will slowly wear away the entire Grand Canyon of ignorance within you, right? It will wear away all of this egoism in time. Just knowing this, that the supreme reality manifests everything within me. In this moment, I am as I am for no story or reason. I am that manifesting divine, Satchitananda. That's all. Don't let the stories distort. All arise and merge in the same ocean. The source of all is one. Looking for causes and results is but the pastime of the mind. What is lovable. There's your task hidden in that statement. Love the moment exactly as it is. He's guaranteeing you what is. No matter when you pick the sentence up and read it, what is lovable. You can love this moment. You can see its perfection. What do you have to set down for that to be possible? That's all. Right? What is lovable. Love is not a result. What does that mean? It doesn't have causes. It doesn't have story behind it. You don't have to have a story to be loving. It is the very ground of your being. It is what you have always been and what you have always longed to do. Every desire in your life in some way can be expressed through the desire to love or the desire to be loved. What is lovable. Love is not a result. It is the very ground of being. Wherever you go, you will find being, consciousness, and love. Why and what for make preferences, right? Knowing that it is all lovable, knowing that it is everywhere present, why choose one over the other? Why weight your thoughts with importance or unimportance, desirability or repulsibility? Let thoughts come, let them go. You be what you are in the midst of it. This unchanging flow of a love and a wisdom in a being. All right. So we'll stop there for today.